This is the Astrology and Tarot Show with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your psychic astrology for the week starting June 2. Well, Jupiter in Cancer lands on June 9, the planet of opportunity and solutions in the sign that rules real estate for the whole world. And we've not seen this for 12 years. So not this week, this is prep time, but next week, you'll start to see some really welcome overdue changes in your country. Your tarot this week is Aries the Hermit, Taurus the Three of Cups, Gemini the Emperor, Cancer the World, Leo the Ace of Pentacles, Virgo the Two of Cups, Libra Temperance, Scorpio the Queen of Wands, Sagittarius the Knight of Swords, Capricorn the Two of Wands, Aquarius the Two of Pentacles, and Pisces the King of Wands. Aries, well, what goes on behind the scenes, which nobody else can see except for you, is private. It's about God or not God. In a lot of cases, it can be therapy or tarot. It's also where the karma is from 18 or 19 years ago, which is when you set something in motion about your very private life, your soul or your spirit, that now has to be settled. And that's why this area of your life is so repetitive. It may be religion, it may be counseling, or it may be mediumship, it may be meditation or something else more private to you, but it's going round in circles this week. This is the second story in your life taking place far away from the gaze of other people, and you have to do it by yourself. Nobody else can be there with you except maybe a priest or a therapist, perhaps a psychic. This is about your soul, your spirit, or your psyche. And this is a big week for that because this is the first time in years that you have gone through this cycle without Saturn and Neptune also in Pisces in your 12th house of solitary soul searching. So you've had two endings here. There was one ending as March closed and another as May draws to a close too. June is going to feel as if that was then and this is now. But you do also have some closure. As I've mentioned, it goes back 18 or 19 years and something that you never really resolved for yourself, whether it was Buddhism, whether it was the Hindu religion, maybe it was seeing a therapist, now has to be sorted out one way or another. This cycle is quite long with the node in Pisces, and it will take you at least until the end of this year to start feeling as if you're getting ahead with it. One of the things that you can do when other people are always saying and doing the same things is to change your response to it. So you alter on the inside. You might develop a sense of humour about hearing the same old thing, if it's the Anglican Church, for example, or the Pope, or you may go beyond developing a sense of humour to actually using the fact that you know what is coming next to make yourself a more evolved human being. That can happen too. You will be amazed to see how different life feels for you once you're over these Pisces cycles. But as I've mentioned, you've had two endings, so you're 2/3 of the way there. It still is the case that you need to get to the end of 2025 to really feel that you're over the halfway mark. And then there will come a day, believe it or not, Aries, when you no longer have to concern yourself so much with A, being alone with yourself, and B, figuring out what makes you tick. Taurus, this endgame cycle with Uranus in Taurus, your sign, raises questions about your appearance, but also your strength, your fitness, and your energy. Are you strong enough and fast enough for the internet, for example? You might also have Aries factors in your birth chart. Again, same zone of your horoscope, the first house. It's about reputation and appearance. So this week is about prep time because everything is altering with social media and also with the basics of being identified by your title or your name, your face, your age, and so on. This rather superficial cycle is about the exterior and not the interior, but you would be the first person to say that you know exactly how much impact your appearance can have, or your title. You have been through this cycle, Uranus in Taurus, since 2018. And the last thing that you expected to happen has in fact happened, very much affecting how you are seen by the outside world. Uranus in Taurus is going to be out of your life from July, And this week is very much preparation for that, as you will know what it feels like to have a predictable existence where your exterior is concerned. Uranus always brings everything that is erratic, unstable, volatile, can change in the blink of an eye. And when you realize that it's been in your sign and in your first house of appearances, that would explain a great deal about how you've been profiled and how you've been dealing with your profile as well. This week is about getting ready for the new stability which comes in July. But as you also have your natal chart, or your personal birth chart, triggered in the first house of appearances, image, identity, reputation, you do have a lot to think about privately as well. And this may be something as basic as the person that you appear to be online and the opinions that are attached to you online as well. That's something to look at this week. Gemini. A few signs are going through these big questions about image and identity just because of what's happening in the sign of Aries, which rules your exterior and your profile. You have that going on too. And also in your solar chart, Gemini, you have the same chart zone, your image, your exterior being triggered. This is the last week of Jupiter in Gemini, in your zone of title and face, shape and style, and the external. Then in July, Uranus goes into Gemini in exactly the same zone of your chart. So you are allowed to think about yourself more this week and be more concerned with yourself. It's not ego, and nor is it narcissism. It's just the way that things are shaping up for you. The Romans who gave us our modern astrology used to ask, how shall I have the face? And they meant putting a bold face on things. So the rulership of the first house by Mars and Aries and your birth chart is all about that, putting your best face forward as well as your best foot forward. And this week is all about understanding what the years have done to you in terms of how you are perceived. Now, this might be your name badge. It might be the tag that people hang on you. It may be your actual face as seen on Zoom, for example. It may also be something quite serious like, for example, surgery on your face. That can happen too. Of course, there's more to you than life. Below the neck and above the neck too, we have a big message about your shape and your presentation and packaging as the whole person. What you're going to see this week is the beginning of something quite new for you in just a couple of months. And for lots of you, this could be a real turnaround. It may be a matter of title or name. If you've always been Mrs., you may become Ms., for example, and you may be looking at letters after your name. That's another way of spinning this first house transit. However it's panning out for you, if you do have anything in Aries in your birth chart, then it's intensely personally important that you relaunch the relaunch the way that you want to, and that looks as if it's coming over the next few weeks. Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer, your sign, is here from the 9th of June next week, and you will gain from the new me, as you put it. When we look at Mars in your birth chart, the ruler of your first house of me, then we see it through the eyes of Margaret Hone, a great astrologer, talking about pioneering and leading the way. We find you ready to go in and be on the front line or be the face of something. All of this is coming about and it will benefit you, Cancer, in just a few days. This cycle is quite long. It lasts until June 2026. So you are right ahead of the opportunities and the solutions to come. The first house, which Peg Hone associated with being upfront and pioneering, is lit up in both your charts. So this isn't just about your solar chart as a Cancerian, where Jupiter is in the first. It's also about your natal chart, where for the first time in your life, we find Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Aries, and Chiron in Aries too, all again in house number 1. A few signs, almost half the zodiac, are going through this huge focus on ID, identity, reputation, title, and of course, how you appear. For this reason, we have to suspect that something greater is happening, and it is happening, of course, with governments worldwide, some of them taking a very great interest indeed in your social media and what's attached to your name. In addition to that, there appear to be big wheels turning in the whole appearance industry. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about weight loss jabs or the latest advances in cosmetic surgery. Whichever way you're thinking, you stand to gain from what is happening. It may not be evident yet, but in a week or two, you'll realise that you are being offered pretty rare solutions and big opportunities to go further and faster than you have so far. The fact that it is all about your exterior and not the real person on the inside has to be taken into account. But then again, we live in a world where sound bites are everything, and so is a quick glance at your name on Google. So, bearing that in mind, it looks like you have some choices to make near your birthday, which really will be a relaunch for you. Leo, this very recent feeling of being trapped financially, confined with a house or apartment, restricted with a will, or stuck with a bank has been made more extreme because Saturn has been there with Neptune, and now they're both gone. So you are here to adjust and adapt to the new financial world, Leo. The confusion over boundaries has disappeared. It stopped at the end of March when Neptune moved out of Pisces. And the waiting game and the heavy feeling of not being able to do very much has also stopped. It ended with Saturn leaving Pisces too at the end of May as you go into June. So now all you're left with is karma. And you have a story going on there 18 or 19 years ago, which never found closure. Leo, you are owed from that time, financially or through property, or you may owe others or even owe the universe. On whatever level you owe or are owed, there will be closure between now and the end of the year. It will be more evident to you this week that that's what's going on. If you have anything in Cancer in your birth chart, which a lot of Leo people do, then you are on top of some stunning opportunities and solutions with the world of houses, land, gardens, and apartments, as well as real estate. And that begins on June 9. This new cycle, which is coming about, affects the whole world. But if you do have anything in Cancer in your birth chart, you stand to be the personal beneficiary of changes which are coming from the top. This may be the government, the banks and interest rates. It may be new building programs. It may be immigration in some countries and so on. Finding a place to feel at home in, wherever you call home, and feeling more at home in the home that you're in is a sure sign that you do in fact have Cancer factors, because Jupiter will be going right over them for about a year, starting on June 9, as I've mentioned, and lasting until June 2026. Even if it's the people around you in the family, your partner or your friends who have Cancer factors in their charts, their big advantages with the house or apartment could also be yours. This may be something as basic as a home exchange, but there may be more complicated things here too, depending on your personal birth chart. The final thing to say about this transit, Jupiter in Cancer, is that it is about the family circle. And as you will see in October and November, when Jupiter in Cancer trines the Scorpio cycles, which affect the family, you are up for some long overdue answers. Virgo. Well, your zone of workload and well-being is fully occupied this week by Pluto. There will be a compromise, a carve-up and a new arrangement with your paid work, your unpaid work, your university or college, and the clues will be there this week. It will be like a game of musical chairs where all the players have to find new seats, and you will be in a totally different game of life. This may be long-term for some of you, depending on your birth chart. So you may be talking about January and February 2026, so about 6 months away. In other cases, it's going to happen a lot faster, and you may be well aware of the reshuffle ahead. A deep change in the balance of power right around the world is coming. It's ongoing, in fact, financially and economically, and it will be in place by July. This does create a chain reaction which affects you where you work, where you study, and even with your unpaid efforts too. These ripple effects do tend to catch up with you this week. You also have a revolution ahead with what you call success. Independence, freedom, and being your own person are all on your agenda when Uranus goes into Gemini from July. So there are 2 cycles going on this week. Pluto in your 6th all the time, and what we have with Uranus going into Gemini and your 10th from the month of July, Could see you in a new position, promoted. You may resign to do your own thing, start your own business. You may add a side hustle, which gives you far more freedom and space, or decide to go back to study. If studying, you may decide to switch courses or tutors or even universities. And depending on how confined or restricted you feel with your ideas about success, you could be quite radical indeed. Virgo, one of the great truths about Uranus is that the last thing that you expected is always the first thing that happens. So a lot of what I'm talking about in terms of July isn't even a figment of your imagination yet. What's going to happen after July will absolutely upset the apple cart professionally, academically, or with your unpaid work, and also deliver you the kind of freedom you've not seen in your life before. So that's coming. The golden rule this week is stay flexible and keep things open. Libra, a really good thing to remember at this point with your relationship or children is that if you want to find empowerment, you have to use your willpower. And if you want to feel in control of the situation, you have to use your self-control. Pluto in Aquarius can be like that, and there are no shortcuts or easy answers. It doesn't matter if this is about courtship, the bedroom, babies, infants, children, teenagers, or adult children. The situation is the same, and it's very similar to what you experienced in January and February. If you want to feel as if you have the upper hand, you have to learn to share the reins because there is no upper hand anymore. There is only a compromise. At any point, if you fall into the trap of thinking that he or she or they are top dog or you are top dog, it's time to change the way that you're operating because you may be walking into a typical Pluto situation where power and control can become really complicated questions. In fact, there has to be some sort of deal or bargain hammered out here, no matter how long it takes, between you and he, you and she, or you and they. You also have Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron now in your zone of marriage, divorce, de facto partnership, and separation. So there is an awful lot going on this week about an old relationship, a current one, or a pending one. This is not just about Pluto in the fifth, then, it's also about this triple cycle, all in your seventh house, which rules the scales, the balance between yourself and the other person. These three in a triple cycle will be affecting every Libran in different ways, no matter if you are consciously uncoupling, whether you are in a partnership, so you live apart, whether you are always maybe about to go back to your ex-husband and so on. However it's showing up for you, the thing to remember is that you own the scales. You are the sign of the scales. And this matter is probably legal at heart, like a marriage, or it may be about cosmic law or universal law or just what seems fair or just. You have quite a lot to look at then over the next 7 days. But the bottom line is, if you want to have a simple life, understand that it's all about deal making. Scorpio. Early 2026, Scorpio, is when you'll feel the finishing line with the family, the household, your house or your apartment, maybe your town or country too. And it may be that January, February 2026 is already in your diary or at the back of your mind. It is, of course, straight after Christmas and it is a new year. This week is very much about playing the long game and seeing your future long term because Pluto, your ruler, moves so slowly through your fourth house of real estate and home and the family circle. Trying to do everything too quickly, as you tried to do in part of 23 and 24, didn't work. What you actually have to do with this cycle, according to astrology, is to measure your pace and to figure things out almost as if you were playing a game of chess. If you have anything in Cancer in your birth chart, then you are in luck because Jupiter goes into Cancer from June 9, and Cancer also rules the family, the home, the real estate, your town or country. So if you do have something in the sign of Cancer, Jupiter going over that between June 25 and June 26 will bring you solutions and opportunities on a grand scale. Maybe all of this is swirling around in the ether. Of course, the other thing to say is that other members of the family or your partner may also have Cancer factors. And of course, it can be the other person who swings things around for you, whether it's the kitchen or whether it's your father, it doesn't really matter. If you do have people there in your world with Cancerian factors, they will be the ones who get lucky, and they will be the ones to open the door for you in terms of your relatives in general, or how you feel about where you live and how you live. Should you be one of those people who are lucky enough to have Cancer factors, this is a well-known cycle in astrology which we have been watching for at least since the 20th century. And it doesn't matter whether it's an all-time number of immigration entries into a country that accepts them, or prefab homes being affordable for the millions, a big change in property prices. Whatever you're up for, it looks as though your part of the world might be delivering it. And certainly, if not your part of the world, then another one that you might be particularly interested in, Scorpio. But more on that next year. Sagittarius, there will be a big change online, which results in some who had no power acquiring it with the web, and you may be one of them, and you can thank Pluto for that this week. Others who had too much power online will be facing major corrections. So, for example, greedy AI companies, and all of this will land in your lap in stages, with some of it this week and the rest of it coming in July, when Uranus, the revolution, goes into Gemini, digital. This is also about you taking control of the internet for yourself and learning how to use your self-control however it works for you. This might be about literacy, language skills, or the agreement that you have with something like Facebook, if you're even on there. You'll see lots of clues this week. As you have cycles in your solar and natal third house of communication and connection, it's pretty clear that the signposts this week are much more than just a little fork in the road. They're showing you something really big up ahead from July. Sagittarius, if you have anything in Gemini, you can double that message. Uranus in Gemini in your third from July is about a radical change in the way that you are heard and read that will liberate you using new inventions that set you free. In your solar chart, Pluto is also in your third, so publicly and privately. This is about the power of words and images to reach people, to influence them, and to change the way that they think about the world. None of it happens to them without also happening to you. So what you'll be finding over the next few weeks as you go into July is that it may be the technology, your computer, your phone, or your microphone, or it may be just your fundamental command of language. You may learn a second language, for example, or embrace new inventions which help you to access people in a more effective way. All of this will have an impact if you are in education or publishing or studying. And the power is there for you to harness this week, Sagittarius, understanding that willpower is everything. Capricorn. Well, Uranus in Gemini starts in July. Mergers, departures, reshuffles, resignations, redundancies, promotions, demotions, and so on are in store from July. And there may be talk this week, or you may read something that gets you thinking in that direction. Update yourself on what you need to become more open and more flexible to change, because change will come from July. This cycle is pretty unusual. It tends to turn the known world upside down, and it's happening in your sector of work, study, and unpaid work. That's not the only game in town, because this week you also have your final stint with Jupiter in Gemini, the same thing. How you work, how you study, how you work without pay, for example, and how you manage the daily routine. What happens in July will set you free. It is very likely to be something that you could not possibly guess at or anticipate now, even though there may be some loose talk. Therefore, you may want to get yourself into a position this week where you are as flexible as possible, so that when life zigzags in July and August, you can zigzag around it. The idea with the Uranus transit, which is what you have up ahead, is that you are light on your feet and can dance in the storm when the storm breaks. It may be, for example, your company, or it may be your life as a self-employed person or a student. However you are affected, it is important to try and leave plenty of space for that, rather than do the classic Capricorn earth sign thing and want everything to be stable and grounded and anchored, because it just can't be on this cycle. If you have anything in Virgo in your birth chart, then it's a double whammy, because you also have karma to complete with work, unpaid work, or study. You are owed from 18 or 19 years ago, or maybe you owe. But on whatever level the karma is unfolding, there is a situation here, if you do have Virgo factors, which is going to take you back to the past. Aquarius. Jupiter in Cancer is coming next week into your 4th house of property and family. And in your solar chart, the same zone, the 4th house, is seeing a major change as Uranus, your ruler, leaves in July. So this is a bit like two cars overtaking each other, one in your birth chart and one in your Aquarius chart. And they're both about the same thing, which is how to feel at home. This has been almost impossible for you since 2018, because you have gone through so many upheavals with the family, with the apartment or the house, even with your hometown or homeland, and perhaps the household. So it may have been something as basic as a wide range of flatmates coming in and going out of your life, to a serious change within the family circle. You might also have been dealing with a mortgage, renovations, or the ins and outs of renting or leasing. Nothing has been predictable for you since 2018, and you have until July to accept that this is almost the last change in a sequence of changes which happened. The great disruptor was, of course, 2020. But however you have handled your home life, real estate, the family, or your household, you need to know that solutions are appearing almost as soon as you can turn your head to look at them. Jupiter in Cancer can be like that. If you have anything in Cancer in your natal chart, then it's personal, and you will gain from the biggest answers coming in June and July. Even if you don't, it's very likely that the other people in the household or the family do have Cancer factors, and it will be their good fortune with major answers about their relatives, which might include you, and of course the house or the apartment. Well, you can gain from that as a side effect. This double transit through the 4th house is one of those rather historic events which is worth preparing for. If you knew that life was going to be on an even keel from July, if you were to understand that there would be no more upheaval, as there has been since 2018, then how would you like life to be? And what would you begin planning, whether it's the kitchen or whether it's your sister? However you are personally affected, try to entertain the possibility that you will, in fact, be on an even keel again, because according to your chart, it's coming. Pisces. Well, Jupiter, with all his benefits, all his supersizing, is now in your zone of the bedroom, courtship, babies, infants, children, teenagers, and young adults from June 9. So you have about a week to go before this famous cycle begins, and it will take you until June 2026 to use all the opportunities and the solutions. This may affect you as the father of daughters, or it may be about your life as a single parent. Maybe you are single full stop and looking for a new relationship. There may be issues for you with adult children, stepchildren, IVF, or adoption. However you are affected, Jupiter has a reputation for being best and greatest. Astrologers have been watching this planet for about 2,000 years, and this planet and its cycles are well known in Asia as well. In fact, in India, they call Jupiter Guru or Brihaspati, and in India, he also has a reputation under an Indian name for being the benevolent god. So whichever way you cut it, you are in for some really important answers. This week is also about considering if you have anything in Cancer in your birth chart. If you do, then you are long overdue for some really big improvements with the house, the garden, or the apartment, the extended family circle, or your household. If so, then Pisces, you have a lot to look forward to over the next 12 months. And this may tally with what I've just been saying about the younger generation in your life, the bedroom, or courtship. Even if you don't have anything in Cancer in your birth chart, It's pretty clear from your horoscope that you are owed good karma from 18 or 19 years before. The nodal cycle in your opposite sign of Virgo is coming around. And the fact that it's happening at the same time that Jupiter, with all his big answers, goes into this personal zone of your chart suggests that you are in fact owed. You did or said the right things 18 or 19 years before, and now your chickens are coming home to roost. The other analogy that works with Jupiter is the acorn that becomes the oak. If there were any acorns that you planted in your life 12 years ago, then your horoscope suggests that starting from June 9, some of those acorns are going to start growing into mighty oak trees for you. Enjoy your week ahead. I'll catch up with you next week. Thanks for listening.